everyone, I'm TM Sparrow, writer and homeschooling mom, and today I'm going to share my favorite tips for writers. So you might remember that several months ago I did a video on my least favorite tips for writers. I ended up taking that video down for multiple reasons, but I do plan on redoing it at some point. For now though, I want to share something positive. So today I'm going to share my 10 favorite tips for writers. So let's just jump right in. Number 1, ask for help. For real though, this is just great advice in general. Life can be hard, writing can be hard, so don't be afraid or too proud or ashamed to ask for help. Yes, the internet can be a scary place, but it can also be an amazing resource. Overall, I have found the writing community on social media to be incredibly helpful and supportive. So, if you need help with your writing, don't be afraid to reach out. That's how you find writing friends and critique partners. And don't forget to give back as well. It's a community, right? And we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So if another writer reaches out to you for help, then be kind and do what you can. There's a lot of caveats that I could throw in here, but they almost all come down to this. Be a good human, both in asking for help and giving it. Also, this is good advice in the real world too. As a mom, sometimes I need help making time to write, so I may end up asking my husband or my parents if he's at work to help with childcare so that I can get some writing done. I also tend to ask my husband for help talking through a tricky story problem too. Just don't be afraid to ask for help, and be kind when someone else asks for help in return. Number 2, don't wait for inspiration. Yeah, some people won't like this one, but this was one of the most important writing lessons that I had to learn. You know how I mentioned last week that there have been times that I have gone months without writing? Yeah, I'm embarrassed to admit that some of those times were because I just didn't feel inspired. You aren't always going to feel inspired to write. Write anyway. Yeah, maybe what you write that day isn't going to be that great, but that's okay. A favorite quote of mine is from Jodi Picoult. You can edit a bad page, but you can't edit a blank page. So I've been working on building a better writing habit. No, I don't write every day because that path leads to burnout. But I'm trying to write regularly. And you know what? I found that once I push past that initial block and get some words out, good or bad, it's like a dam breaking open, and the words just pour out. Learning not to wait around for inspiration has made a huge difference for me. Number 3, read. So, I didn't realize that this was controversial advice until about a year or so ago when I stumbled across a debate about it on Facebook. I was very surprised to learn that there are writers out there who don't read. To me, reading is an essential part of being a writer. Part of the reason that I write is because I love stories. I want to write fun and engaging stories that move people. I want to give people the story experience that I love. I also feel like if you want to write books, there is a lot you can learn from reading them as well. I've also found that it's a lot harder for me to make time for reading now that I'm a homeschooling mom. But that's one of the reasons that I have really come to love audiobooks. It's easy for me to listen to a book while I'm doing other things like folding laundry or planning my school week for Ava. Almost every night I listen to part of an audiobook as I'm getting ready for bed. Reading is crucial, and I can get through a lot more books with audiobooks than if I'm always trying to read a physical copy. Reading is a great way to learn about your genre, to learn about tropes and reader expectations. And it's also really helpful to read outside of your genre. Mystery books are so great for learning about pacing and foreshadowing. Romance books are really great for learning about characters and character dynamics. The bottom line is there's a lot to learn from reading books. Plus, it's just fun. Number 4, study the craft. I love learning, so of course this advice is right up my alley. I mean, I have a whole collection of craft books, which is fun. The fact of the matter is, if you want to be a writer, you have to learn about the craft of writing. No ifs and or buts about it. I'm not saying you have to go out and get a creative writing degree or anything like that. I mean, that's the great news. There are tons of resources out there for learning about the craft of writing. There are books, and there's this handy little thing called the internet, where you can find tons of podcasts or courses through platforms like Skillshare or Udemy or Masterclass. Or you might prefer witty YouTubers. Learning about the craft of writing will improve your skills, and it just might circumvent that little evil we call writer's block. Number 5, research the publishing industry. Yes, more learning! If you plan to publish your work, then you absolutely must learn about the publishing industry. This way you can make an informed decision on which path you want to take: traditional publishing, indie publishing, or self-publishing. It also helps to know publishing trends so that you don't look like an amateur right out of the gate. For example, did you know that books from traditional publishers are always released on a Tuesday? Yeah, it's true. And I didn't notice that until I started watching videos and reading things about the publishing industry. I don't know why they do this, but they do. Do you know how much it costs to publish a book? Do you know what all the steps are? Do you know all the things that you have to pay for if you're self-publishing? These are all important things to know, and that's why this advice is on my list. Number 6, don't read the reviews. Whoa, what do you mean don't read the reviews? How will I know if my book is good? That, my friend, is why you have critique partners and beta readers. I cannot stress this enough. Reviews are for readers, not authors. Trust me on this. Good, bad, or indifferent, once your book is out there, the reviews are not for you. Reading the bad reviews is only going to make you feel bad. And the good reviews? Well, I mean, I guess you can read those, but once you start reading the good reviews, it's harder to not read the bad ones. And if you do read the reviews, please, for the love of God, do not respond to them. Just don't. Number 7, make small, achievable goals. Writing advice that can double as life advice. Huh. Learning this has been life-changing. Goal setting is an area where I struggle because I always get caught up in the big picture and miss the small steps that it takes to get there. This means that I usually end up getting overwhelmed and stuck. I've always been able to see so clearly what I want to do and who I want to be. I've just never been able to get there. Breaking my big goals down into smaller, more achievable goals has been so refreshing. Instead of just, I want to publish a book, I can break down each part of the process as individual goals. It's made things so much easier for me, especially with my anxiety. A big goal can be incredibly overwhelming, but a smaller goal is much less scary. Number 9, don't skip the editing. This is so important, guys. If you're going to sell your work, you have to invest in a good editor. I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's true. Now, if you're planning to publish traditionally, then your publisher is going to have editors who will work on your book. But if you're going to self-publish, you're going to have to shell out the money for a good professional editor. No, not your uncle's best friend's cousin's nephew who went to college. A real professional with actual credentials. You can't expect people to spend money on your book if you're not willing to invest in it to make it the best product it can be. Unfortunately, self-publishing isn't cheap. Number 10, take every piece of advice with a grain of salt. Yep, I wanted to finish this list of my favorite advice by reminding you that everyone is different. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't really believe in one-size-fits-all writing advice. There is no right way to be a writer except to write. Most writing advice is really just people sharing what works for them. So look at the advice and figure out what works for you and what doesn't, and go from there. So that's all I have for you today. You can share your favorite writing advice in the comments down below, or as always, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. And if you want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos on Sundays. See you next time. For real though, this is just great life advice in general. No. For real though, bleh. So I may end up having to ask my parents to help take care of Ava while Drake is working. Bleh. A favorite quote. Bleh. You can always edit a bad page, but you can't edit a blank page. So, ooh. I've found that, inspired or not, once I To me, reading is an essential. Bleh. It's easy for bleh, learning about the bleh. This way, you can make an informed decision on which publishing path you want to take. Okay. Do you know all the steps to publishing? How much it costs to publishing? Oh my god. I've said it before, and I will say it again. Probably many, many times. Anyway.